My name is Rowlands. I'm a nutritional balancing practitioner, and in this video I'm going to talk about the reasons why people all of a sudden get sick and just get symptoms overnight. It's becoming very, very common actually. I'm surprised actually at how common this gets brought up. I get a lot of people calling me up obviously to ask for advice and to start a nutritional balancing program, and they'll say to me literally overnight, you know, this and this happened overnight. I got these symptoms. I was just going through a little stressful couple of days, and then all of a sudden I got all these symptoms, and they're kind of baffled at the reasons why it kind of just happens in a bit of an instant. So hopefully in this video I'm going to speak about the reasons why, and hopefully give you some insights into you know, the reasons why symptoms might have come on all of a sudden for you. So you need to realize that the body is very, very good at hiding things. At the end of the day, the body wants to survive. That's its main job. That's its main role. On one sense, is wanting to survive, and it's an incredible design. And what it does is it's incredibly magnificent at hiding toxins, hiding traumas, and hiding various things. Take children for example. You know, we all know that junk food is not good. You know, the sweets, the candy, the McDonald's, all that sort of stuff is no good. And you see a lot of kids actually that get brought up on junk. You know, I know a few children that literally get brought up on pizzas. They hate vegetables. All the plates are like brown coloured. It's no good. Yet they're joyful, happy. Yes, obviously you can see little things whereby hyperactive or whatever, but in general, you know, they're rather happy souls. You know, some of them, you know, when they're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the early years, their bodies can handle junk food. Now, if you give me that junk food, even now after 7 years, if I started eating junk food, all of a sudden, I would start getting symptoms fairly rapidly, because it's just really terrible stuff for your body. But children, some children, not all children, they tend to be all right. They're not all right on a deep level, but this is just an example of how the body's really good at hiding things. So people go for years, you know, 10 years, 20 years, sometimes 30 years, and they're doing all these things. They're making bad lifestyle choices. They're eating a poor diet. They're smoking, drinking, and they seem to be okay. However, underneath, the body is not doing well. It's very, very good at hiding it. In fact, there's one example that shows that the liver can actually be 2/3 dead, and a person would not feel it. It would still keep running. You know, there'd be no symptoms basically. And literally as soon as kind of the last third starts to deteriorate, all these symptoms would appear. So one thing that I like to describe, how I like to describe this, is the body is a little bit like balancing a plank of wood between two bricks. And on the plank of wood you put on weights, and this weight is stress. It can be diet, lifestyle, relationships, job stresses, any sorts of stress. And this plank of wood, as you start putting weight on it, stress will start to bend. But you know, you can't really feel it sometimes. You can't tell. You don't know it's happening, and it'll bend and bend and bend and bend and bend. And then all of a sudden it could just take like one extra brick, you know, one tiny little bit of stress. You know, it's a little bit like the liver. So, you know, 2/3, 66%. It just has to go up to 67%, and the plank of wood snaps. The body can no longer keep the stress under control, is kind of simple terms what happens. So on a more of a biochemical sense, what you tend to find is that when the body's under stress, the oxidation rate, which is a little bit similar to metabolism, what the body will do is the oxidation rate will speed up. So oxidation is the body's natural reaction to stress. It speeds up, the metabolism speeds up. When the body's got stress, in order to deal with that stress, it'll speed up the metabolism so the body can work more efficiently, and try and overcome the stress that it's suffering from. Other things that happen is the body might go into like sympathetic nervous system. So sympathetic dominance, fight or flight. The fight or flight might turn off when it's under threat, just like an animal. Its sympathetic fight or flight nervous system switches on. So there's a heightened awareness. The adrenal glands are pumping out more hormones. The body's shifting blood and toxins around to basically deal with a fight or a flight. That's what it feels like it's under. It feels like it's under some sort of stressful situation. Other things that happen is the body's natural calming minerals, or the natural sedative minerals that keep you relaxed and calm, and what's used to handle stress. So things like calcium, magnesium and zinc, they will all start to be depleted from the body as the body's using them up in order to deal with the stress. So these are kind of the first few things that start happening. In the beginning, you know, when you're younger and you might be running around eating junk food, the body will kind of switch on its sympathetic nervous system, fast oxidation, and then when the stress is over, you know, maybe the child's gone to bed, it'll switch it back off, you know, and then it'll come on again and switch back off. And then, you know, when you get to 10, you know, 15, 16, maybe you're going out drinking a little bit, you know, the plank of wood's bending, you still can kind of get over it. Yeah, you might feel a little bit tired in the morning, you know, you might get little hints like spots or acne. Your memory might be a little bit not as good as what you used to, but in general it's not enough for you to kind of realize that there's a major problem. But these are the kind of slight red flags that people just don't pick on anymore, you know. So this starts to happen, and all of a sudden the body will just say, look, I can't handle this anymore. So as you get older or whatever, there's more stress on the body. The oxidation rate is more in fast oxidation, usually chronically. It's a chronic fast oxidizing now. It's not switching on and off like it should do under stress. You know, turns on, you look like it would do if you was a hunter-gatherer, for example, going to chase a lion. Your fight-or-flight system would switch on. You would deal with the situation, you know, hopefully make a kill, and then it'd switch off and you go kind of back to baseline and recover again. Now this is kind of chronically on now, you know, if you got chronically stressed. The same with the sympathetic sympathetic nervous system, fast oxidation, that's chronically on. And then all of a sudden people will go through, they'll ring me up, I went through a relationship breakup, I just went out drinking one night, it was just, you know, same as what I always do every week. I had a stressful week at work or whatever, and then all of a sudden they'll literally wake up and they'll have massive symptoms. So what happens in this situation? Well, basically the plank of wood, it snaps, and what happens is that the body can no longer handle fast oxidation. It's not got the minerals, it's not got the energy, it's not got the hormones to keep itself in fast metabolism. So it switches to like a survival mode. It's really interesting what the body does, and you can see it on hair analysis tests. It switches into survival mode. It's like last chance saloon in order to survive. So you go from fast down to slow. The body can no longer keep up fast oxidation. The body can sometimes go into like, sometimes it's a chronic fight or flight, so it's a fight or flight that cannot be switched off, really difficult to be switched off. Sometimes it goes into a chronic unhealthy parasympathetic mode. So what this means is that the body is reacting as if it's under fight or flight chronically, but there's actually not even enough minerals or energy or hormones to actually keep this sympathetic nervous system switched on. So it actually switches it off. It's actually switched off, but the body's trying to switch it on. So you can see where this gets really unhealthy in this unhealthy parasympathetic nervous system. A lot of people go into a mineral pattern on hair mineral analysis called a 4 lows pattern or a 3 lows. A 4 lows pattern is when the 4 major macro minerals are below the ideal levels. So, you know, calcium, magnesium, sodium and potassium are all below ideal. Usually what happens is magnesium and calcium, they're the sedative minerals, so they're really low, so the body hasn't got the resources to calm itself down. At the same time, you've got like a low potassium, so that's like chronic fight or flight, and like low sodium, potassium, you know, that's a sign of adrenal burnout. So can you imagine the body's under tremendous amounts of stress, but there's no calcium, magnesium to kind of sedate it, to kind of keep it relaxed. So it's a little bit like being out in a storm without an umbrella or a rain jacket or a shelter. You're just in the storm, and the shelter would be, you know, the calcium, magnesium, kind of keeping a lid on things, but there's none of that. So you're just in this kind of wired state, and you don't know how to get out of it because it's chronic. It's a chronic state. And in order to get out of it, you need a lot of work and a lot of effort. Other things that happen is the HPA axis just goes out of balance. So the HPA axis is a mechanism that kind of sends signals to glands in the body. That doesn't know what it's doing anymore, so it's telling the adrenal glands to do this, it's telling the thyroid gland to do that, it's telling the hypothalamus to do something else. It's just all over the shop. The pituitary glands, everything just gets mixed messages, mixed signals, so the body really doesn't know where it's at anymore. Another important thing is the detox pathways. The body's natural detoxification mechanisms will start to shut down because the body has to learn how to survive. It's not got the energy to actually start processing toxins out of the system. So this causes a bigger increase of toxins. You can see it on hair analysis. It's called pore eliminators. So the toxic metals, you can't even see them. They're not even on the hair analysis. A lot of people look at that and think, oh, I've got no toxic metals, when in reality, you got to look at other indicators. So if a person's in 4 lows, for example, and has, like, you can't really see the toxic metals, that's a major sign to us that the body has a lot of toxins inside, but they're not coming out properly. And yeah, a nutritional balancing program is kind of one of the only ways of rebooting the system on one sense. And then some very interesting things happen that are quite probably more esoteric, is bizarre. I still can't wrap my head around how this happens, but usually what happens is when you go through a traumatic situation, the body will actually attach a trauma to a toxin, which is really interesting. So usually what we'll find is when people release a toxin, they release a trauma at the same time. It's as if the mental, emotional, you know, when you get energy coming in, it manifests in the body. That's the best way of looking at it. And as it manifests, it might be mercury that's attached to the trauma, or arsenic, or excess copper, or something along them lines. And they start causing massive symptoms for a person. And as I say, once you release a toxin, then you release a trauma. It's quite a fascinating process to watch. So all of this kind of happens really quickly. You gotta, you know, the body's kind of in this, you know, when you're born, it's fairly relaxed, and you know, most children are actually in fast oxidation, but after a while, people slow down. But when you're under stress, you know, over time, the body gets stressed, fast oxidation, chronic sympathetic nervous system, and it's kind of like you're throttling the car engine. You know, you got the gear, the pedal to the metal, as people would, you know, as people like to say, it's pushed down and it's revving like this. You're not really aware of it. This is an inside, as I say, you're getting red flags. You know, you're seeing smoke come from the engine, kind of thing. You know, which is tiredness in the morning, acne, rashes, eczema, little symptoms that are not too bad, but they're red flags. And then all of a sudden, you know, the pistons break. You know, the engine blows up, sort of thing, and it's just, you can't function anymore. But yet the person's foot is still on the pedal. It's still trying to rev the engine, and there's nothing there in the tank. And this is what people do. This is the problem that people get into, is that when the engines run out of gas, or when the engines blew up, when you've gone into slow oxidation, when you've gone into follows, when you've gone into a really unhealthy sympathetic state, or unhealthy parasympathetic state, people use various tools to try and get out of it, completely the wrong things to do. They'll do things like exercise a lot. You hear, oh, if you're feeling unwell, go and exercise. Like, you don't want to be exercising the body when it's under tremendous amounts of stress, it can't handle life. But a lot of people do that, and they'll just burn the system out even more. Some people don't know what to do. You go to the doctors are prescribing drugs and medication that often make the body more toxic, which is obviously a major issue. And then people they don't know an answer, they'll start turning to drugs and alcohol, to try it. It makes themselves feel temporarily better, maybe because the body, the adrenal glands are releasing a few hormones. That's what I did. Took drugs, made myself feel better a little bit, but actually it's just making things worse. People try and do more things. I'll work harder at work, I'll do more things at school. And you need to realise that the body's collapsed by now. The plank of wood's gone. So when if you're still trying to put the pedal to the metal, you're just burning out the system even more. If you just imagine, when you watch these, sports cars, and people are kind of burning out the engine, the wheels are spinning, and it's just, and it's just stuck, and the engine's blowing up, and it's smoke coming off the wheels. It's just like that in the body. You would tell, if you were to look at a car that's doing that and say, how do you need to fix the car? You would say, well, for a start, take the foot off the gas, stop that, and you've got to kind of, instead of revving the car, you got to take the car and rebuild it. You got to put it in the garage, and take it apart and literally rebuild the system from scratch, a lot of the time, sometimes. And that's what nutritional balancing is all about. That's when people come to me, because they've got no other options. They've tried the drug route, they've tried the medicine route, which often doesn't work because people are just don't understand how the body's been totally burnt out. They'll still, they come to me, I need to tell them to stop doing all the work they're doing, stop the massive amounts of exercise. Just stop. And this is what happens when you come to nutritional balancing. You come to me, we remove the stimulants, we give the body what it needs, we put the car in the garage, and we stop the system, and we'll take away the nuts and bolts, and we'll repair things, and from the inside outwards. So hopefully that's made some sense, and I get it all the time. People just, boom, wake up and they've got all these symptoms, and they're like, what the hell has happened? And the engine's just burnt out. They go down this path trying to fix themselves by often doing more things which make them worse. And this is what we do in nutritional balancing. We take out them burnt out cars and we pop it in the garage for a complete makeover. As you can imagine, if you've burnt out the car engine like for years and years, it's going to take a long time for the mechanic to fix it. The mechanics, like the nutritional balancing program, and guidance from practitioners, it takes a while to fix. But you'll learn in the garage about the truth. That's what's important, about how to look after the engine, how to look after the car, how to drive your vehicle properly, and that's what's most important. And actually, you get a brand new, your car is fixed, but when you're going on the roads, you're going on the roads in a much more healthier state, and you enjoy things even more. You're not kind of using your vehicle in a very hedonistic way like most people do. All right, so hope that's helped you out, guys. If you would like to start a nutritional balancing program, obviously just send me an email, lewis@deephealingspace.com. If you want to check out our website, it's deephealingspace.com. All right, thanks for watching. Tune in next time. Please subscribe, and I'll speak to you all soon. Ciao.